She banned my family from the wedding, so I made it a family party without her. The photos broke her. I thought we were just finalizing seating charts. I didn't know I was about to watch my entire future collapse in real time. 6 years with Natalie felt like building something solid. The kind of relationship that progressed naturally from dating to cohabitation to finally, 18 months ago, an engagement that surprised exactly no one. I'm 34, work in logistics coordination, and I've always been the steady type who shows up when promised. Natalie, 31, works as a marketing director at a tech firm, ambitious and polished in ways I admired even when her drive occasionally made me feel like I was running to keep up. We'd chosen Willowbrook Estate for our wedding after visiting a dozen properties. This lakeside resort had everything Natalie wanted: elegant gardens, water views, upscale amenities to impress her parents' corporate circle. The deposit alone was $18,000 from my savings, with $22,000 remaining. We were sitting in our condo on a Tuesday evening in March, supposedly planning final details. Natalie had her laptop open with our color-coded spreadsheet, and I was making notes about the timeline. She'd been unusually quiet for 20 minutes, clicking through something with this tight expression I'd learned meant trouble ahead. Then she closed her laptop with a decisive snap. "I need to tell you something about the guest list, and I need you to hear me out completely before you react," she said, her tone corporate presentation flat. I set down my phone, already feeling that instinctive stomach tightening. "Okay, what's up?" She took a breath. "I've been talking with my mother about the overall atmosphere we want, and we both agree that for the event to have the right tone, sophisticated, elegant, cohesive, we need to be more selective." I nodded slowly, not understanding yet. "Your family," she continued, not quite meeting my eyes, "they're wonderful people, but they're too casual for what we're creating. The way they dress, how they talk, their whole vibe, it doesn't match the atmosphere my parents' friends and our colleagues expect. So I've decided they can't come to the wedding. It's nothing personal, just about maintaining the right environment." The words hit like cold water. I actually laughed, a short disbelieving sound. "Wait, what? You're uninviting my entire family?" "I'm setting a boundary about the guest experience," she corrected, like explaining a reasonable business decision. "Greg, be honest, your dad shows up everywhere in flannel shirts. Your mom talks too loud. Your brother made that inappropriate joke at our engagement party. They're lovely people, but they don't fit the wedding we've planned. My mother's college friends, my father's business partners, the managing directors from my company, these people expect a certain standard. Your family would feel out of place anyway." I stared at her, trying to process this. My family, the people who'd welcomed her into every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner for 6 years. My parents who'd contributed $5,000 toward our condo's down payment. My sister who'd thrown Natalie 2 engagement parties and spent hours helping with vendor research. My brother who'd offered to handle all transportation logistics for free. She was talking about them like embarrassing strangers who might spill wine on the tablecloths. "Natalie, these are the most important people in my life. You can't seriously expect me to get married without my family there." "I'm not expecting anything. I'm telling you what's happening. This is non-negotiable. If you can't respect this boundary, then maybe we need to reconsider whether we should get married at all." The ultimatum delivered with casual cruelty. I looked at her, really looked, and saw something I'd been missing for months, maybe years. This wasn't wedding stress. This was who she actually was underneath the charm, someone who categorized people by perceived social value and was willing to erase anyone who didn't enhance her carefully curated image. "When did you become this person?" I asked quietly. She blinked, thrown off. "Excuse me?" The woman I proposed to wouldn't have said this. She wouldn't have looked at people who've shown her nothing but kindness and decided they're not worthy. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. I'm trying to create a beautiful, memorable event by excluding my family based on what they wear and how much money they make." "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." She stood up, smoothing her skirt. "You know what? I've tried to be understanding about your middle-class sensibilities, but this is exactly why my mother warned me you might not be ready for the life I'm building. Real success means surrounding yourself with people who elevate you, not drag you down." If you can't understand that, then yes, maybe we shouldn't get married. Something crystallized. The pattern I'd been excusing as ambition was actually contempt. The way she'd gradually stopped attending my family gatherings, always having work conflicts. The subtle corrections when I'd mention my dad's contracting business, steering conversations toward her parents' achievements instead. She'd been trying to sand down everything about my background that didn't fit her vision. "You're right," I said, standing and heading toward our bedroom. "We shouldn't get married." I heard her sharp intake of breath. "What are you doing?" "Packing." I pulled my duffel bag from the closet and started filling it with essentials. My hands were steady even though something enormous was cracking open inside my chest. Not heartbreak exactly, more like painful clarity of an illusion shattering. "You're overreacting. There's nothing to discuss. You gave me an ultimatum, you or my family. I'm choosing my family." I zipped the bag and turned to face her. She looked genuinely uncertain for the first time since I'd known her. "You're seriously calling off the wedding because I won't let your relatives attend?" "I'm calling off the wedding because you think it's acceptable to ask me to choose. Because you just told me the people who raised me aren't good enough for you." Her face cycled through several emotions. "If you walk out that door, we're done. Completely done." "I understand." I picked up my bag. "I'll have my brother coordinate getting your things from the condo. You've got 10 days. I walked past her, through the living room we'd furnished together, out the door of the home I'd purchased before even meeting her. My hands didn't shake when I started the car. What I felt wasn't sadness. It was strange, weightless relief of finally seeing the truth and having the courage to act on it. I didn't yell or create drama when I left. I simply walked out with my duffel bag and drove to my brother's apartment across town, my mind strangely clear despite everything. My brother David opened the door in sweatpants, confusion shifting to concern when he saw my face. "Wedding's off," I said before he could ask, and he just stepped aside and let me in without questions, the way good brothers do. I crashed on his couch that night, barely sleeping but feeling more certain with each replay that I'd made the right call. Natalie didn't contact me that evening. She genuinely believed I was bluffing and would come crawling back within hours. When I woke Wednesday morning to 17 missed calls and frantic texts, I knew reality was hitting her. The messages progressed from angry to desperate. "This is ridiculous. Come home so we can talk like adults." Then, "You're really throwing away everything over one disagreement?" I didn't respond. Instead, I made coffee and started thinking strategically. The venue contract was entirely in my name because I'd paid the full $40,000 total from my personal account. The condo was mine, purchased 2 years before meeting Natalie. I had legal and financial control over everything that mattered. Around noon, I called Willowbrook Estate and spoke with Diane, their events coordinator. "Hi Diane, this is Greg Patterson. I need to discuss our booking for June 15th. "Oh yes, Mr. Patterson. What can I help you with?" I took a breath. "I need to cancel the wedding. The engagement is off." Professional sympathy filled her voice. "I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me pull up your contract." When she came back, she confirmed what I knew. "You're the sole name on the contract with full authority. Given you've already paid $40,000, canceling would forfeit about half based on our policy." "I understand. But before we cancel completely, is the venue available for a different event that same weekend? A family reunion or celebration instead?" I could hear surprise, then genuine interest. "Actually, if we converted it to a reunion-style event, we wouldn't need all the elaborate elements. The ice sculptures, 7-course dinner, specialty florals. We could offer a simpler package, buffet catering, basic decorations, venue access and activities. That would run around $18,000 total, and we'd refund you the difference." "Perfect. Let's do that. Same weekend, but make it a family reunion." We spent 20 minutes reworking everything. Barbecue station instead of plated filet mignon, lawn games and kayaking instead of formal dancing, casual country band instead of Natalie's string quartet. Everything she'd rejected as too casual suddenly became the entire point. When I hung up, I felt lighter than I had in months. Then I composed an email to Natalie and her parents, keeping it clinical. "The engagement is terminated effective immediately. The wedding scheduled for June 15th has been cancelled. As the sole party on the venue contract, I have rebooked the date for a private family event. Attached are screenshots documenting Natalie's decision to exclude my entire family as non-negotiable and her suggestion we reconsider marriage if I couldn't accept this. I am accepting her suggestion. Natalie has 10 days to retrieve belongings through coordination with David. All keys must be returned. No further contact is necessary. I attached the screenshots and hit send. The response came within 20 minutes. Patricia's voicemail, dripping with condescension and rage. Greg, I've just seen your absolutely inappropriate email. Natalie made a reasonable request about the guest experience, something any sophisticated person would understand, and you've responded by humiliating our entire family. Let me be very clear. People in our circles don't forget this kind of slight. You're making a grave mistake that will follow you professionally and personally. I saved the voicemail for documentation but didn't respond. Instead, I texted Natalie once. You have 10 days to coordinate with David for your belongings. After that, everything goes to charity. Return all keys through him. This is the only communication you'll receive directly. Then I blocked her. By the end of that first week, I'd established clear boundaries, secured my legal position, and transformed a nightmare cancellation into something that actually excited me. A genuine celebration with people who'd always mattered most, at a venue Natalie chose to impress people who never really cared about me. The irony felt absolutely perfect. Kelly continued her harassment campaign through the second week, each message more desperate. Natalie's not eating. She had to take medical leave. Her family is consulting attorneys about breach of promise and emotional damages. You've broken her completely. Is this really who you want to be? I forwarded everything to David and Lauren for documentation. When Kelly started calling my workplace, leaving messages about a family emergency, I blocked her and sent HR a brief heads-up about a personal situation that might result in inappropriate contact. The eerie part was Natalie's own silence, not a single direct message from her, which told me everything about her strategy. She was letting Kelly play bad cop while positioning herself as too devastated to speak, hoping I'd feel guilty enough to reach out. I refused to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I focused on transforming the venue into something meaningful. I spent evenings coordinating with Diane at Willowbrook, planning lawn games for kids, kayak rentals for the lake, barbecue menus my family would actually enjoy, and booking my uncle's friend's country band. Every decision felt like reclaiming something authentic. The most important part was telling my family the full truth. I gathered everyone at my parents' house: Mom, Dad, David, Lauren, my grandmother. I laid out the entire story. Natalie's demand they be uninvited because they were too casual, her ultimatum that I choose between her vision and my family. My mother cried angry, protective tears. I knew something was off. The way she'd skip dinners, correct you when you talked about us. She was tolerating us, not welcoming us. My father was blunt. You dodged a bullet, son. Anyone who'd ask you to choose like that would have spent your marriage making you choose between your family and her friends, your values and her image. You made the right call. When I told them about the reunion celebration, the room erupted in laughter and excitement. My grandmother, 83 and sharp, grinned. You're throwing a party at her fancy venue with all the people she said weren't good enough? I love it. I'm wearing my most casual outfit. The next weeks became collaborative. Lauren helped create invitations for everyone who would have been on my side. Extended family, close friends Natalie had pushed aside. The response was overwhelming. Cousins I hadn't seen in years confirmed attendance. College friends immediately blocked off the weekend. What had been designed as an exclusive event for 200 curated guests became a genuine reunion for 75 people who actually cared about each other. Diane was thrilled. This is so much more fun than most weddings. Everyone seems genuinely happy instead of stressed. Your family keeps calling with sweet questions. Can they bring homemade dishes? Can kids swim in the lake? Can they arrive early to help set up? It's refreshing. The only shadow was continued harassment from Natalie's side, now more calculated. Patricia's attorney friend sent a certified letter demanding $35,000 for financial damages, emotional distress, and reputational harm. The itemized list was absurd: 8,000 for therapy Natalie supposedly needed, 12,000 for wedding gifts her side had to return, 4,000 for the gown Patricia bought, 11,000 for lost professional opportunities. Lauren, who works as a paralegal, literally laughed. This is legally meaningless intimidation. They have no case. This is Patricia's friend writing scary language on fancy letterhead. File it for documentation, don't worry. We sent a brief response through Lauren's firm. Your claims lack legal merit. All payments were made from Greg Patterson's personal funds with his name as sole party on contracts. The engagement was terminated due to demands made by Ms. Miller, as documented. No further contact will be acknowledged. We heard nothing back, confirming it had been an empty threat. Trying to bully me only reinforced that walking away was right. The reunion at Willowbrook Estate exceeded every expectation. The weather was perfect, mid-70s, sunny, just enough breeze off the lake. I arrived early with David and Lauren to help set up, but Diane's team had already transformed the space into something warm and welcoming. The elaborate arches Natalie selected were repurposed with simple wildflowers. The barn had string lights and picnic tables instead of rigid seating charts, and the whole atmosphere screamed casual joy rather than curated perfection. My family started arriving around noon, and watching them explore felt vindicating in ways I hadn't anticipated. My nephews, 7 and 9, immediately sprinted toward the kayaks, excitement unfiltered. My dad walked the grounds with quiet appreciation, commenting on the landscaping and construction through a contractor's eyes rather than seeing a status symbol. My mom set up a dessert table with homemade pies she'd insisted on baking despite my protests, because that's what she does. She contributes, she makes things personal. My grandmother became the unexpected star, holding court by the water in a bright purple tracksuit that was decidedly not wedding appropriate but perfect for her personality. She had cousins and great-grandchildren rotating through, and I took 50 photos of her laughing and offering unsolicited life advice. These were the people Natalie deemed too casual, too loud, too embarrassing, and watching them genuinely enjoy themselves made me realize how suffocating her vision had been. The barbecue was exceptional: ribs, brisket, grilled vegetables, all the comfort food my family loved instead of 7-course plated dinners with unpronounceable food. People ate with their hands, went back for seconds, sat wherever they wanted, and conversations flowed naturally because nobody was performing. The country band played 3 hours, a mix that had people dancing who never would have danced to Natalie's string quartet. My dad pulled my mom onto the makeshift floor and they swayed to a song from their own wedding 38 years ago. My father gave an unplanned speech about family loyalty and how proud he was that I'd chosen the people who mattered over appearances, and I teared up listening. Kids swam, adults played cornhole, someone organized an impromptu kayak race that got too competitive, and the whole day had organic energy no professional planning could have manufactured. Lauren, who has a decent social media following, created a photo album that evening titled Family First, Willowbrook Celebration, with 60 candid shots showing pure happiness. She tagged the venue, tagged family members, used hashtags like #FamilyReunion that made the event publicly visible. The photos were genuinely beautiful, not professionally staged, but real moments. My grandmother surrounded by 4 generations, all laughing. My nephews dripping wet, holding up a fish they'd somehow caught. My parents dancing. Cousins who hadn't seen each other in years, arms around shoulders. Sunset over the lake with the barn lit up. Every image radiated authenticity that Natalie's curated wedding would have lacked. Within hours of posting, my phone exploded with notifications. Natalie had found the photos. The first message came through Instagram around 9 p.m. What the hell is this? Why are there photos of a party at MY wedding venue? Take them down now. Then immediately, people are asking me questions. My coworkers saw the posts. This is humiliating. You're deliberately trying to destroy my reputation. I didn't respond, just watched messages pile up. My mother's friends are calling asking what happened to the wedding. Do you have any idea what you've done? This is harassment. You need to post a statement immediately saying the wedding was mutually postponed. Kelly jumped in through text. Greg, this is cruel. Natalie is having a breakdown. Her mother is threatening legal action. You need to delete those photos and issue a public apology before this gets worse. The entitlement was staggering. They genuinely believed they could control my family's ability to share photos of our own event at a venue I'd paid for. Around 11 p.m., messages took a financial turn. You owe me reimbursement for what my parents spent on my dress, the deposits they placed on vendors, the emotional damage. My mother's attorney is drafting a lawsuit. $8,000 for the dress alone. You have 48 hours. I screenshot everything, forwarded it to Lauren with, "Document this," and went to bed. The next morning brought more, including a desperate message from Natalie around 6 a.m. "Please, Greg. I'm begging you. Just take down the photos. Say the wedding was postponed. Help me save face. People I work with are asking questions I can't answer. My professional reputation is being destroyed because you wanted revenge." I finally responded, brief and factual. The photos are of a private family event at a venue I paid for. They'll remain posted. Your professional reputation is your responsibility. No further contact. Then I blocked her on everything. The satisfaction of that moment, drawing that final boundary, felt better than any argument ever could have. 3 weeks after the reunion, I received another certified letter from Patricia's attorney friend. The envelope was thicker, more official-looking, and for a moment I wondered if they'd actually filed the lawsuit. I opened it at David's apartment with him reading over my shoulder, and we both started laughing. It was essentially the same demand letter, just reformatted with more aggressive language, claiming $35,000 for financial damages, emotional distress, and reputational harm. They'd added one threat: if I didn't pay within 10 days, they'd file in civil court and seek additional damages for continued harassment via social media. Lauren's response was swift. "This is even weaker than the first one. Notice they still haven't filed anything, because they'd lose and probably face sanctions for a frivolous lawsuit. Continued harassment when your sister posted family photos? Laughable. They have no case." We sent another brief response through Lauren's firm, essentially repeating their claims lacked merit. But what I didn't anticipate was Natalie and Kelly launching a coordinated social media counterattack, carefully crafting a narrative that painted me as the villain while omitting why the wedding was canceled. Kelly started with subtle posts. Watching someone I love go through hell because her ex got cold feet and decided to punish her for it. Some people can't handle commitment. Praying for healing and justice. Then Natalie posted something more direct. Sometimes you think you know someone, then they show you who they really are. Calling off a wedding is one thing, but turning it into a public spectacle, throwing a revenge party at what was supposed to be our venue, and refusing accountability? That's something else. I'm focusing on healing, but I won't pretend this hasn't broken me. The post got dozens of sympathetic comments from people who didn't know the full story. "You deserve so much better," and "his loss, honestly." A few mutual friends started leaving concerned comments on my older posts, saying they'd heard troubling things. The narrative spreading was that I'd gotten cold feet, canceled impulsively, then threw a spite party to humiliate her. Neither Natalie nor Kelly mentioned the actual reason. I watched this unfold for 48 hours, watching sympathetic comments accumulate, watching people I'd considered friends question my character based on incomplete information. Then I made a single post with 3 screenshots attached. The screenshots showed Natalie's texts from the day before our confrontation. "I've decided your family can't come to the wedding. They're too casual and don't match the sophisticated atmosphere we need. This is non-negotiable. If you can't accept this, maybe we shouldn't get married." My caption was straightforward. I didn't cancel a wedding over cold feet. I canceled a marriage to someone who demanded I choose between her and my family. She called my parents, siblings, and extended family too casual for her wedding and issued an ultimatum they couldn't attend. I chose family. The reunion at Willowbrook Estate was my family celebrating at a venue I paid for. No regrets. I posted it publicly, tagged no one, and let the truth speak. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, over 200 reactions and 50 comments, almost all supportive. Friends who'd been questioning me suddenly understood. People who'd seen Natalie's version commented, "This completely changes everything," and "You absolutely made the right call." Several mutual friends who'd met my family jumped in with observations about how welcoming they'd always been, making Natalie's characterization transparently cruel. The post went viral within our social circle, getting shared by friends of friends, commented on by people I barely knew. Someone found Lauren's photo album from the reunion and started sharing those images alongside my post, showing exactly what Natalie had considered too casual, genuine family joy. The narrative swung dramatically in my favor. But the most unexpected consequence came from a different direction. Someone filed an anonymous complaint with the adult literacy program where I volunteer, claiming I had documented anger management issues based on my volatile relationship ending and concerning online behavior, suggesting I was unsuitable to work with vulnerable populations. The program director, Ruth, called that evening sounding confused and apologetic. "Greg, I received the strangest complaint about you today." Someone submitted an anonymous concern about anger issues and inappropriate online behavior. "I've worked with you for 3 years and never seen anything concerning, but I need to follow protocol. Can you help me understand what this might be about?" I explained everything: the broken engagement, the family ban, the reunion, the social media post with screenshots. I offered to show her all documentation, including Natalie's threats and Patricia's demand letters. Ruth sighed heavily. "This is clearly retaliatory harassment. I'll document that we investigated and found the complaint baseless. You're one of our best volunteers. Your students adore you. I'm sorry someone tried to weaponize our program against you." The complaint was dismissed, but the attempt was revealing. They weren't just embarrassed, they were vindictive, willing to try destroying my reputation in any way possible, even targeting volunteer work that had nothing to do with our relationship. It reinforced that walking away had been right. As weeks passed after my social media post, the fallout for Natalie became increasingly severe in ways I never intended but couldn't control. Multiple mutual friends privately contacted me after Natalie's version started showing cracks, and when they learned the truth about her family ban, several people, including 2 bridesmaids, distanced themselves entirely. One bridesmaid, Jessica, sent me a long message explaining she'd always felt uncomfortable with how Natalie talked about people behind their backs, ranking them by social status. The family ban was the final confirmation of character issues I'd been ignoring. I told her I couldn't be part of her wedding party anymore, and she completely lost it, said I was betraying her. It showed me exactly who she really is. Natalie's Instagram presence, which had showcased her as a lifestyle influencer with small brand partnerships, took a massive hit when followers started questioning her character. Comments on older posts shifted from admiring to critical, pointing out superficiality that now looked different in context. She lost about a third of her followers within a month, and brand partnerships quietly disappeared as companies distanced themselves from controversy. Professional consequences were apparently worse. Someone from her company allegedly shared copies of her threatening messages with HR, showing poor judgment and impulse control. Her company didn't fire her, but there were uncomfortable conversations about professionalism. She wasn't promoted to the senior marketing position she'd been angling for, and word was her judgment had been quietly questioned in ways that would affect her career trajectory. Patricia faced consequences in her social circle, which mattered enormously to her. The country club set she valued started whispering once the real story spread, and several friends quietly sided with my family's position. I heard she'd lost a board position at a charitable organization after other board members expressed discomfort with her character. The social standing she'd worked to build took real damage, and the irony wasn't lost that her obsession with appearances had ultimately undermined both. Financial consequences were most tangible. The vendors Natalie's parents had contracted independently, a celebrity florist, artisan cake designer, high-end photographer, all refused refunds because Natalie's constantly changing demands and ultimate cancellation violated contract terms. Patricia had spent over $15,000 in completely non-refundable deposits. Every dollar lost was a reminder that her daughter's pickiness and poor judgment had cost them significantly. Meanwhile, Willowbrook Estate actually benefited unexpectedly. Diane called about 6 weeks after the reunion, sounding delighted. "Greg, I wanted to thank you personally. We've received probably a dozen inquiries about family reunion packages since your sister posted those photos. People saw how beautiful the property looked for a casual celebration and realized they didn't need a formal wedding to justify using our venue. You've opened up a whole new market segment for us." The property had always been marketed for weddings and corporate events, but our celebration photos showcased versatility and natural beauty in ways professional marketing never had. Real families having real fun was more compelling than staged wedding photos, and Willowbrook was capitalizing on it. Diane even asked permission to use a few of Lauren's photos in promotional materials, offering me a discount on future bookings as thanks. I agreed, amused by how Natalie's attempt to claim her venue had backfired so completely. 6 months later, I reflected on the entire experience as painful but ultimately life-saving, the kind of crisis that reveals truth before legal bonds make separation exponentially more difficult. Natalie's true character had shown itself at exactly the right moment, before marriage made everything infinitely more complicated. If she'd waited until after the wedding to start excluding my family, I would have been dealing with divorce attorneys and asset division instead of a clean break. My relationship with my family had never been stronger, which was the most valuable outcome. My parents told me they'd noticed Natalie slowly isolating me from family gatherings over the past year, always finding reasons why I should skip events or spend holidays with her family instead. Sunday dinners became regular again. I showed up for my nephew's soccer games. I helped my dad with a renovation project. All the small ways of staying connected that had been eroding came back naturally, and I realized how much I'd missed without recognizing the loss. I started dating someone new about 4 months later, Emma, a teacher I met through my literacy volunteer work. She came from a large, boisterous family remarkably similar to my own. The first time I met her family at a casual barbecue, I watched her interact with them, genuine affection, easy laughter, zero pretension, and felt something click. When I introduced Emma to my family, she lit up meeting them, asked my mom about her bakery with genuine interest, talked shop with my dad, played video games with my nephews. The contrast with Natalie was stark. "Your family is wonderful," Emma told me driving home, and I could hear she actually meant it. "Your parents are so warm, your siblings are hilarious, and your grandmother might be my new favorite person. I can't wait to see them again." That simple statement, "I can't wait to see them again," represented everything Natalie had never felt, and it made me realize how much energy I'd spent trying to make my family seem acceptable to someone who'd already decided they weren't. I heard through connections that Natalie eventually moved to a different city for a fresh start, unable to handle the social consequences in our hometown. She'd taken a marketing position at a smaller company in another state, starting over where her reputation wasn't damaged. About 8 months after our breakup, I heard she was engaged again to someone from her mother's corporate world, a finance executive she'd met through Patricia's networking. I felt only relief and pity, hoping she'd genuinely changed but doubting it, suspecting she'd simply found someone who shared her values rather than examining whether those values were worth having. The $40,000 I'd spent on Willowbrook Estate felt like the best investment in myself I'd ever made. That money bought me clarity about who Natalie really was before I'd signed a marriage license. It bought me freedom from a future where I would have been constantly choosing between my partner's approval and my family's presence. It bought me the unforgettable memory of my family's genuine joy in a place meant to exclude them. Most importantly, it bought me knowledge that I could walk away from something I'd invested years in when it stopped being right, that I could choose self-respect over sunk costs. I kept one framed photo from the reunion on my desk, my grandmother surrounded by 4 generations, everyone laughing at something my uncle said, the lake sparkling behind them. Whenever I looked at it during a long day, I was reminded that some boundaries aren't negotiable, that choosing yourself over someone else's impossible standards is always right, and that real love never demands you abandon the people who shaped you. Emma saw the photo one evening and studied it with a soft smile. "That's from the famous reunion, right? The one at the venue your ex tried to ban your family from." I nodded, and she shook her head. She really had no idea what she was giving up. Looking at this photo, at how happy everyone looks, she walked away from this because she thought it wasn't sophisticated enough. That's honestly sad. She was right. It was sad, but it wasn't my sadness to carry anymore. A year after what would have been my wedding day, Emma and I were talking seriously about our future, looking at houses together, making plans that included both our families naturally because that's what partnership actually looked like when it was right. I never heard from Natalie again after blocking her, and I was grateful for that silence. Sometimes the best revenge isn't retaliation, it's building something better with someone who actually deserves you. I'd found that with Emma, with my family relationships restored, with clearer boundaries and values. The wedding that never happened had taught me more about love, loyalty, and self-respect than the marriage ever would have.